Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is going to be another classic movie review for you guys, and this time I'm going to be reviewing to you the 2000, I believe it's 2006, I believe. Let me check that. Yeah, 2000, oh my gosh, this is so unprofessional, sorry guys. 2005, action anthology movie, Frank Miller's Sin City, or just Sin City. Now, Sin City. This was a movie I've been going around looking crazy for because I knew that Stars Play, that's sort of like this, it's like this, application that you can get, and they had it on there. Well, I kept looking for it on demand. I was looking crazy for it, and I was planning on reviewing it to you guys, for a while now. I wanted to review it last year, but I didn't get a chance to. One of the many movies I did not review last year that I wanted to. And what ended up happening, what ended up happening with that, was that I just, didn't get a chance to watch it. And then I see that it was on Stars, and I looked it up, and I'm like, okay, I gotta record it right now. I recorded it, I just watched it, and what did I think of Sin City? Sin City was overall very, very good. I thought it was a very good movie. I can definitely see why everyone loves it. It actually is credited as the most comic book look, the movie that looks the most like a comic book, and I do agree with that statement. Do I think this movie is perfect? No, this movie is not perfect. It's not flawless. I do not think it's a masterpiece. I do think it's a really good movie. I do think that, the acting and everything's really good, but it does have a couple problems for me. Basically, what's this movie about? This movie is actually divided into 3 to 4 stories, and we'll talk about them. The first story is called That Yellow Bastard, and basically it follows this aging police officer, played by Bruce Willis. He protects this young woman, later played by Jessica Alba, from this grotesquely disfigured serial killer, and basically, that's what's going on there. He wants to protect her at all costs and do what he can. The second story is called The Hard Goodbye, and it's about this man that embarks on this brutal rampage in search of his his one-night stand. He's had this one-night stand, basically, and she ends up dying, and basically he wants to try to find her killer, and that's basically what that story's about. And the third story is called The Big Fat Kill, which focuses on a street war between a group of prostitutes and a group of mercenaries, the police and the mob. And then in between, there's this story called The Customer's Always Right, which is basically the story about a salesman who walks onto a penthouse balcony where he finds this customer, and basically, that's the story. Basically, it's a pretty basic story. So there's kind of 4 stories going on, and of those 4 stories, the main story is Bruce Willis's. I would say that the main leads here are Bruce Willis and Jessica Alba. Even though all the stories get their equal amount of screen time, the one that gets the most amount of screen time is Bruce Willis's. So I'm gonna say that Bruce Willis's storyline, or story arc, whatever you guys want to call it, is the main storyline to this movie. That's how I personally feel about this movie. But let's just get to this movie. First of all, let's talk about the acting. Okay, this movie has dozens of actors. I could be here all day talking about the actors and actresses. I'm going to talk about the highlights in this movie. The main star, as I said, was Bruce Willis, and he was very good. I really liked his character. His character was very concerned in helping out this girl. He did whatever he could to help her, and I thought his character was definitely very well done. I was very interested in his character. I really loved his character. Bruce Willis, as usual, was badass in this movie, even though nowadays he's been making kind of shitty movies. But this is when Bruce Willis was a real ass kicker. He did a great job in this movie, and I thought he was definitely very, very good. Jessica Alba, I really liked her character. I mean, her character was definitely very, very good. Bruce Willis wanted to protect her. I did like the twist with her character that I will get to. There is sort of like a twist. I don't know if you call it a twist, but it is sort of a spoiler, I think, because it happens later in his story. And I thought she was definitely very, very good in the movie. The other person to talk about is in the other storyline, the storyline called, The Hard Goodbye, Mickey Rourke, he was amazing. I thought Mickey Rourke was very, very good, and I really enjoyed his character. He was really good. I loved how determined he was to find this killer. He did a great job. I thought he was just, wow. He was probably my second favorite storyline. He had the longest storyline, actually, because Bruce Willis is divided into 2 parts, and his was divided into, like, 1 part, and it's, like, 40 minutes, so I was into his story the entire time. I mean, his was great. The one story that I had a problem with was Brittany Murphy's The Big Fat Kill. I like this story, I really did, but I kind of was not as into it as the other ones. I really liked the story, but there was a part of it that I was not as into it. I really liked the story, I liked the premise of it. Basically, you know, Brittany Murphy's character is being harassed by her abusive ex-boyfriend, and, you know, there's a bunch of stuff going on there. Clive Owen, though, was very good. You know, he was very good. I just wasn't as into that story, in my opinion. I want to get, pretty much because I just want to get back to Bruce Willis's. I thought his storyline was definitely the most compelling out of all of them. Josh Hartnett also as the salesman in the very beginning of the movie. He's in, like, the first 5 minutes of the movie. He was very good. I thought he did a very good job in the movie. I thought, you know, he was a very good character. And he had a little twist there that I definitely really enjoyed. Let's get to the directing. This movie is directed by Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez. Frank Miller actually does a little bit of a cameo in the movie. And also Quentin Tarantino had a little thing to do with this movie. I don't know exactly what he did, but he did do something with this movie. I don't know what he did, but wow, Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez, they were fantastic in this movie. This is the only Robert Rodriguez movie, besides, you know, this is the only Robert Rodriguez movie that you can actually take seriously. I mean, his other ones are not meant to be taken seriously. Machete, Grindhouse, Spy Kids, I mean, this is really the only Robert Rodriguez movie that's really serious and that you can actually take really seriously. And I thought Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller did a great job. I mean, I felt like I was watching a comic book. I really felt like I was watching somebody read a comic book. It was that well done because, you know, it had everything a comic book should have. It had the black and white drawings of a comic book. And one of the best things they did about the movie was actually deciding when and when not to use color. They used color in a very specific point in the movie, and when they used color, I was really surprised that they used color. I thought the whole movie was going to be black and white, and when they went to color in this one specific scene, I thought it was definitely very interesting that they went to color. I was definitely very interested in that, and I was like, okay, that's amazing directing right there. I mean, it's really, really good directing, and that's one of the reasons why this movie is remembered so much, because of the directing. The directing is by far the best part in this movie. Like, they did such a good job with the directing. Also, the narrations were spot on in this movie. Like, the way they did the narrations were fantastic. I thought that was so well done. Sin City is actually a comic book that Frank Miller wrote, so he knew what he was doing. I mean, they did the best thing Robert Rodriguez did the best thing he could have done, which is basically work on the movie with the guy that wrote the comic book. That's the perfect thing to do, because not only did he have the same influenced ideas from him, but basically he did it as Frank Miller wanted it. That's why it's called Frank Miller's Sin City, because it's his original story, and I just think they did a great job collaborating together, and they were one of the best collaborations, I think, in this movie. Very, very good. The cinematography in this movie was gorgeous. Oh my god. This movie has some of the best cinematography I've ever seen. Really, the cinematography is amazing. I think the cinematography was fantastic this movie. Cinematography was one of the best parts in this movie, because every time a story came on, every time, you know, they showed color, it was just like, it was beautiful to look at. I mean, the color was nice and vibrant. It was so good to look at. And most times it was like black and white. The cinematography was just spot on throughout the whole movie. The editing in this movie, I kind of have some problems with the editing. I feel like some of the stories were too long. The one with Brittany Murphy, as much as I was interested in it, you know, that one, the one with like The Big Fat Kill, that one, in my opinion, was a little bit longer than it needed to be, and it dragged on a little bit, but I thought it was definitely very, very good, and I thought they did a very good job with, I still thought it was a very good story, but I was not as into it. I felt the editing was a little bit of bothersome, but I didn't have too much of a problem with the editing. This movie did get some things at the Cannes Film Festival. I mean, it also there's going to be a sequel to this movie, in case you guys didn't know this. there's going to be a sequel called A Dame to Kill For, which I definitely do want to see. It actually comes out next month. I'm going to talk about it when I do my movie preview video, but I definitely want to see A Dame to Kill For. I heard it's a very good movie, and, I'm really looking forward to it, and I really do want to see that in theaters, so... Yeah, that's another video, though. Let's get to spoilers. There are a couple spoilers to this movie. We're going to go by stories here. So let's just start off with Bruce Willis' story. Now, I have to say, I was very surprised at Bruce Willis' story when we found out that basically the little girl was going to be Jessica Alba, because I knew Jessica Alba was in this movie. I didn't know what she did, but when we found out that she was that little girl, I was very surprised that it was her. I did not expect that to happen. And when she became an exotic dancer, that was really big as well. And basically when her and John started to fall in love, I was very surprised by that. I was not expecting that at all. And that was a really, really great twist, in my opinion, that they actually started to fall in love. I thought that was a very good twist, and I really enjoyed that. Because at first he looked at her like a daughter, and then all of a sudden he looks at her like his girlfriend, basically, and I really like seeing that. And I also like that the whole time he, gave up his life for her. I really like that he gave up his life for her, because even though he killed the guy that was after them, he knew that, that guy would never stop hunting them, so he did what he did best to ensure Nancy's safety, and he committed suicide, and, I just thought that was a great way to end his story. I mean, and the interesting thing I heard is that A Dame to Kill For is actually going to pick up where that left off. So we're going to actually see what happens to John after he kills himself, because I guess he goes into hell or something, where he goes. They said there's going to be some sort of storyline with Bruce Willis in A Dame to Kill For, which I'm personally really looking forward to. Now the other story to talk about, of course, is The Hard Goodbye. I was very surprised again that Marv died like that. I was very surprised that Marv just died like that. I was very surprised that he was taken to the electric chair and everything. I was very surprised by that. I was not expecting that at all. And honestly, I thought that was a good way to end his story, because it's like, again, he sacrificed... He did whatever he could to find the killer, and in return he was sentenced to death, and I just thought his story was perfectly closed out. Now, as far as the Big Fat Kill goes, my only issue with it was that, I just thought it was an interesting story. I mean, there wasn't, many spoilers to talk about there, really. Now, of course, the other spoiler to talk about is the very beginning of the movie, where the customer's always right. When the salesman killed the customer, I was very surprised that happened. I did not expect that at all. I did not expect him to, shoot the customer and everything. And, when we found out that she wasn't dead, I thought the most interesting part, actually, about that was when we saw, Becky from the Big Fat Kill, and she was in, The Customer's Always Right. I thought that was definitely very interesting, because finally I'm like, okay, this is how the stories are gonna connect, and when she encountered the salesman, I thought that was definitely very interesting, but the movie just ends with her calling her mother, so I'm assuming that something in A Dame to Kill For is gonna pick up with, something happening after that, because that story doesn't really have much of an ending, and they gotta pick it up somehow, so I didn't know what was gonna happen there, but yeah, that was definitely gonna be interesting to see if they continue that story, which I'm pretty sure they're gonna continue that story. They pretty much have to. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed Sin City. I thought it was a very good movie. It is probably one of the best comic book movies ever. It's not my favorite comic book movie of all time. I honestly don't have a favorite comic book movie. It is definitely up there, though. It's a very good movie, and I do think that it's probably my favorite anthology movie. I will say that. It's the best anthology film I've seen. A lot of anthology movies, they're very, choppy. They don't have enough screen time, certain of the stories. You're not as into every single story. This one, there was only, one story I wasn't as into. I talked about it, but you guys know, but I was still into that story. Even though I wasn't as into it, I was still into that story, and that's fantastic. So, definitely, Sin City is a classic. It's a movie that I recommend that all of you guys watch. It's a soon-to-be classic, that is. And I definitely recommend that you guys check it out, because it is a very good movie. Alright, so that's basically it for my review of Sin City. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Let me know what you guys saw this movie. Are you planning to see the sequel? I definitely want to see the sequel. I think it's going to be very good. But that's it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic movie review. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.